What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts from the side, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of the Side Guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, if you're a sports fan, there's a lot of things going on right now. As of recording, we have game one of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees going on right now. The NBA season tipped off just a couple nights ago. So, we got that happening. The NFL is in the midpoint of their season. We're about to get to week 8 of the NFL season. The NHL season dropped the puck a couple weeks ago. So, that's going on right now. So, Tad, if you are a sports fan, there is no better time. I really can't stress this enough. There's no better time to get into the action with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Because, all the sports that I mentioned, plus there's probably a ton of other sports. You can bet on esports on Underdog Fantasy. They got you covered. Whatever you want to bet on, you can bet on it on Underdog Fantasy. All you have to do is make anywhere between 2 and 8 different prop bet picks across whatever sports that you're comfortable with. More picks you make, more potential money you can win. And guys, get into the action with the promo code that we're going to share with you. That promo code is DESAI, DESAI. You could double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500, courtesy of our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. So, if you want to bet on the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, just you name it, you can bet on it. Double up on your initial deposit of $10 or more, up to $500 with that promo code. Once again, that promo code is DESAI, DESAI. Get into the action with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. Because, Tad, I remember you made some WNBA bets when the season was going on then.
Caitlin Clark over, baby.
That's a safe bet to make. But yeah, guys, get into the action because there are a ton of things to be betting on right now. So no better time than to get into it with our good friends at Underdog Fantasy. And like I brought up earlier, Tad, we're at the, somewhat at the mid. I know with the odd number of regular season weeks.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Well, I should clarify. So there's an even number of regular season weeks, but there's an odd number of games now. So it's 17 games in 18 weeks because of the bye weeks and everything like that.
I don't care. Me and my friends have talked about this. 10-7 sounds wrong. 9-8 sounds especially wrong. The 500 records being gone.
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
Yeah, but it also gives you a little bit more definition too. So it's like you're no longer a 500 team at the end of the season. Like that's no longer a thing. It's like you either had a winning
8 and 9
or you had a losing season. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So it's like it sort of gives you that sort of definition.
The only person who cares about that is Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, that's a good point. His Russell Wilson experiment has sort of been working in his favor, though. So we'll see whether that can translate into another successful win against the Jets this week, right? I believe, if I remember correctly. Or is it the Giants?
You are correct. Giants.
They just played the Giants, right?
Giants. No, hold on. Now you're confusing me. No, because I picked up the Jets. Who did I pick up? God damn it! Now you're confusing me. Either way, let's discuss this.
It is the Giants because the Jets are playing New England this week.
That's it. That's why I picked up the Jets defense. That's exactly why. Yes, you are. Yes, thank you. So start the Jets defense. Spoiler alert.
There you go. We'll get to that a little bit later first.
Also,
but yeah,
Justin Fields to the Miami Dolphins.
I don't know. Talking about the week 8, we got Tua Tagovailoa is a full clear as far as concussion protocol. So he will be playing this week against the. God, I'm blanking on who they're playing.
This is so bad that we're doing this.
I have the schedule up. I'm not paying attention to who Miami is playing each and every week.
Do me some filler.
Arizona.
I just picked up actually Jalen Waddle, which I think it's a boomer bust pick, but I'll take it.
It could be. But no, they're playing Arizona because I remember there's a big talk about, Kyler Murray playing against Miami. Will it be against Tua or will it not be against Tua? Because that will definitely affect his fantasy stock as well this weekend. Also, the new Call of Duty dropped today too, so a lot of people are talking about maybe that's going to
saw so many commercials for that. How are we already at Black Ops 6?
Yeah, we're at Black Ops 6.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, Ted, we're at, like I said, somewhere around the midpoint of the season. We're at week 8. You can call this the midpoint part of the season. You can call week 9 the midpoint part of the season, whatever you want to call it. But we're getting into the point where it's like, I remember I was texting you this after the Thursday night game between the Vikings and the Rams. And I was like, are the Vikings frauds? Like, I mean, like after
you
did
text me that.
Everybody was clamoring about the Saints after 2 weeks, after 2 blowout wins, and they haven't won a game since those 2 first victories. So it's like, are the Vikings trending in that direction after losses to the Lions? And then now I'll say it's an embarrassing loss to the Los Angeles Rams. I know they had Cooper Kupp back, they had Puka Nacua back, but they had many chances to still win that game, and they ended up losing it. So it's like, now you're sort of separating those teams as far as like who are the actual contenders and who are those, like I said, frauds, like the Minnesota Vikings potentially. We'll have to see, maybe give them another couple of weeks to really prove whether they mean it or not. But this is also a good chance for you to figure out who on your fantasy roster are guys that you can rely on. Or maybe this is when you really need to start thinking about the trade deadline and like, depending on when your league's trade deadline is, maybe ship off some of those guys that you're like, you know what, I don't feel so strong about the rest of his season projections. Let's ship them off for somebody else. I feel a lot better about somebody else. Like you brought up, Tad, if Jalen Waddle's out there with Tua Tagovailoa back under center, he has his fantasy stock, I think, climb a lot more now compared to when he was playing with Tyler Huntley and Tim Boyle of all quarterbacks. So it's like, yeah, this is a good chance for you to sort of look through your roster, evaluate as far as like where you are as far as contention, whether you can possibly make the playoffs, figure out whether you need to make any moves to either really affirm that's like, I can make a playoff run, or if you're already in playoff contention now, really just sort of like set the tone that's just like, I'm here to contend, I'm here to not go. Unfortunately, Tad, like us in the LAFB league a couple of years ago, going one and done.
Okay, a couple of years ago. Because I'm actually on a hot streak in our league. I'm doing pretty well in all 3 of my leagues. I'm actually very proud of myself.
Yeah. So, guys, that is why we come to you here at the end of the week to give you our start and sit decisions at every position. So let's start at quarterback. Tad, what do you got for me? Because clearly it seems like Cap is very interested.
I was just about to say I'm gonna be wrestling with my cat while I do this, which is gonna be interesting. He's licking his paws, so hopefully he's distracted. I got to sit for you. I mean, speaking of frauds, let's talk about the ultimate frauds in the NFL and the owner who's been getting justifiably burned in the media for this, the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is a definite bench this week because against your 49ers, by the way.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football should be a good one.
No, it shouldn't.
All right. We'll get into this.
I mean, yes, I will explain why later. But do you want to guess how many times Dak Prescott has scored over? And there's the foot bite. Do you want to guess how many times he has scored over 16 points so far this season?
I'm probably going to say once. And was that against Cleveland?
It was twice.
Okay.
And once was exactly 16 points.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he barely got to 16 in one of those occasions. He also has thrown for multiple interceptions in the last 2 weeks. Not great.
Nope.
And on top of everything else, your 49ers have actually only allowed 2 quarterbacks to score over 15 all season. Do you know who those 2 quarterbacks were?
One, I think, is Sam Darnold.
You are correct.
The other one, I'm going to say, is Kyler Murray.
You are also correct. Good job. You're a good 49ers fan.
It was because of that rushing touchdown where he threw up his hand.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, it's because he threw up his hand at the 40-yard line, and I was like, yeah, nobody's fast enough on this defense to catch this guy.
Exactly. So point being is you're facing a 49ers defense that so far has actually been doing pretty well against opposing quarterbacks, and you have opposing quarterback where, shocker, in a stumbling, I think is the nicest word I can come up with it, Cowboys offense. So it's just, Dak Prescott is the typical big name guy where you're like, I can start him. He's the Cowboys quarterback, but I really don't think you should.
Fair. Really quick question for you, Tad. So obviously Dak already got paid in the offseason right before the season began, but let's say he didn't get paid. Based on how his season's going, do you think the Cowboys would have given him the same contract that they would have given him in this coming offseason, or do you think they would have let him walk?
They would have given him at least $50 million less.
So you still think they would have given him a contract?
I think they would have given him an extension because it's like the evil you know versus the evil you don't.
That's fair.
But I think the extension would have been far less.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because based on his play this season, yeah, I would agree with you. That's like, yeah, he would not have earned the contract that he just got. And yeah, I definitely could see 50 to 60 million less as far as like the total contract
But
over the span of years.
I think that Dak would have stayed in Dallas, especially because it's weird. It's like a Romo situation down here in Dallas of like people hate him, but they're also like, that's our quarterback. Like they're doing the TO thing. It's
Well,
like, but you hate him. It's like, but still, that's our quarterback. It's like, make up your mind. It's so weird.
It's exactly like you said. And I think that's why a lot of these teams sort of get hamstrung into giving these quarterbacks contracts that they probably, I don't know, for lack of a better word, don't deserve.
Jordan Love
because it's just like you don't know where else you can go. It's like the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Right.
Like you said, the evil you know versus the evil that, you know, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it's just like
evil you know versus the evil you don't. That's a very common saying.
Yeah, I haven't heard it all that often. But yeah, so I think that is more of what it is. And so, yeah, I do agree that he probably still would have gotten a contract, but just, yeah, the amount of money that he would have gotten would be a lot less. Because, he has not been playing like a quarterback worthy of the contract that he received. So, I mean, that's safe to say.
Apparently, that's the reason they didn't get Derrick Henry, which makes everything all that much worse.
I heard that on the radio, too. Yeah, that was an interesting.
Did you hear Jerry Jones threaten to fire the radio host?
That was a couple of weeks ago. That was after the big loss that they had. And then, yeah, it was the bye week. He sort of collected himself, but just, yeah, him explaining as to why this didn't sign Derrick Henry. It wouldn't have fit with the offense. It's like, okay, no, you build your offense around Derrick Henry. I'm sorry if you're going to go after him.
Jerry Jones only 82. Only 82. I thought he was like 90 at this point. I'm so sorry, Cowboys fans. He's going to be around for quite a few more years.
No, this is what stress does to you. It makes you feel a lot older than you actually are.
You should be running for president.
All right, Ted, I'm going to get to sort of an opposite here. You know, we're talking about Dak Prescott, whether he earned his contract, whether he didn't earn his contract based on his level of play. I'm going to say this guy, I know it's only been 1 year, but it's like he may be playing himself into earning a big contract with the team that drafted him number 1 overall. And I'm going to say start Caleb Williams this week against the Washington Commanders. So
he's in the trust category now, huh?
I think so. I'm liking him so far. I'm liking him as for the past couple of weeks. So talking about this game specifically, so far this week, Jaden Daniels has not been practicing. So, I mean, he's been dealing with that rib injury that he suffered over the weekend against the Carolina Panthers.
I told you guys earlier this week that stuff lingers.
Exactly. So, yeah, Washington might be in line to start Marcus Mariota against the Chicago Bears. So, I mean, keep an eye on that as we get closer to the weekend, because I'm pretty sure they're going to try and push this as far as they can before they really make a decision that's like he's going to start or not going to start. The big thing, though, for me is going back to Caleb Williams. Chicago's coming off a bye week, so I think this should really limit the offense as far as, like, you know, whether it's Marcus Mariota, whether it's Jaden Daniels. I think this Bears defense getting a chance to sort of rest up a little bit. You know, they're playing at a very high level this entire season long, so I think that rest will really give them a good charge getting into the second half of the season. We're talking about that midway point of the season, right? I think here, because the Chicago Bears defense will be able to limit what Washington can do, whether it's Jaden Daniels, definitely if it's Marcus Mariota, I think this will give the Bears offense more chances to have scoring opportunities with Caleb Williams under center, obviously. So you look at the past 2 weeks with Caleb Williams, he's averaging 265 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. I do know they came against very bad defenses in Carolina and Jacksonville in back-to-back weeks. Washington's defense is sort of in line with both those defenses, though.
Not that good.
Yeah, Carolina and Jacksonville have 2 of the worst pass defenses. Washington is in that same conversation. They have not been all that great all season long. I think this week, if you need a quarterback to stream, I think 100% go pick up Caleb Williams. He can have a very good week coming off the bye week, giving him another chance to gel with, you know, Keenan Allen and Robadunze and DJ Moore and all those guys. I think they can have a very good week coming off the bye week. But I also, Tad, you know, I sort of did this last week, but I'm sort of going to blend a little bit of like waiver wire sort of here too. The next 2 weeks, we don't have any bye weeks this week, but the next 2 weeks, we will have bye weeks in week 9 and week 10. So if you need streaming options for the next 2 weeks, Caleb Williams is playing Washington this week. Then they'll play the Arizona Cardinals. Then they'll play the New England Patriots. So I think those are 3 solid weeks. Or if you're streaming quarterbacks, or if you need to pick up a quarterback in a bye week replacement, Caleb Williams is a guy that you want to pick up for the next couple of weeks, I think.
Baker Mayfield bye week.
I think it's week 14 for Baker Mayfield.
Damn it.
Yeah. But those of you who have Brock Purdy as a manager, they go on a bye week next week. So there's a good replacement for you guys. So, yeah.
Well, actually, that's interesting because that's almost a sit for me as well as Brock Purdy. I'll throw in an extra sit there.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I know he's on a hot streak, but I mean, you and I were texting earlier today about this of like, sorry, dude, but this is essentially your second string offense you're completely rolling out because, Ayuk's obviously out. Jordan Mason is still your starting running back. Is Debo going to play? He's got the question. What is questionable?
It's looking like he's cleared of all the pneumonia systems and he's aiming to play. Jawan Jennings is still out this week, though. So, yeah, it will be Debo and Kittle, though, for sure this weekend, most likely.
I don't know if I trust him.
It's fair. It's fair. I mean, this is a very good prove-it game for Brock Purdy. I would agree with that. But just, thoughts on Caleb Williams, though, as a start this week?
Well, I don't want to get too much into this because that kind of spoils a pick I'm going to reveal in a couple minutes. But no, I completely agree. The confidence, all I'll say at this point is the confidence in the Bears offense is slowly growing. Especially you look at, the I want to say chemistry, but the connection you saw between Caleb Williams and Keenan Allen, their last game, like that was particularly like surprising. I believe it was against Los Angeles Rams, or am I thinking of 2 weeks ago?
No, he did it against the Jaguars. He scored 2 touchdowns against the Jaguars, and DJ Moore did absolutely nothing.
We'll touch on that. But point being is, I think that now Caleb Williams is looking like he's progressing every week of the season so far. DeAndre Swift is having a fantasy resurgence. I mean, this offense is looking a lot better. And I thought I was calling this offense dead about 3 weeks ago, but now I'm like, you know what? There is a lot of promise in this offense, and you can actually take advantage of that because I know Rome Odunze is available in about 30% of ESPN leagues right now. And I think Odunze is going to do the same thing, just slowly gets better and better by the time. Why are you giving me a weird look?
He's available in 30% of leagues, or he's rostered in 30% of leagugues? There's a big difference.
I believe he's available in 30%.
Okay. All right.
I believe it's around that. I'll check that. But point being is, I think that, this Bears offense is just going to keep getting better as the season goes on. So it's a very good buy low, kind of candidate with everyone involved.
Agreed. All right, Ted, let's get to the running back position here. Do you have a start or sit for me this week?
I got to start.
Okay.
Tank Bigsby.
Okay.
He's good. God damn it. The Colts just have one break this season. Just one break. That's all I'm asking for.
They had one, but they decided to go with the
shut it. Yeah, seriously, bring back Flacco. Yeah, for real. I'm just gonna stand outside the stadium with a picket sign. Yeah, Bigsby's good. So Travis Etienne, it's looking like he's going to play. He was a limited participant in 3 of the practices so far this week. Coach Doug Peterson said he is a game time decision. I don't think he's BSing us. I think truly it is like if you don't feel great, then sit out. If you do, good, you're in. I think either way, it doesn't really matter because I think just the fact that he's like even a little bit hobbled is going to mean more carries for Bigsby. And this is why that's important because get this, Mer, of the 3 games this season where Tank Bigsby has had over 10 carries, he's scored over 20 points in 2 of them. Not over 10 points, not over 15 points, over 20 points in the 2 games where he's got a majority of the carries. And they are playing the Green Bay Packers. And while the Packers defense is looking good, Luke Van Ness, that dude's legit. Oh my God. Scary man, like TJ Watt level, like just in terms of size, like, oh God, nightmare fuel. But the Packers have also allowed the opposing running back to score 16 or more points, or I should say opposing running backs to score 16 or more points against them in 4 of their 6 games so far this season. So this Packers run defense, not that great. They're kind of the definition of bend, but don't break. So I think that Tank Bigsby is going to get an increased workload because Etienne is still not 100%. I think that while he may not score a touchdown, he's not a terrible flex starter. Now, I wouldn't put him as your RB1, RB2, expecting 20 points. He may get there. He absolutely has the potential to get there. But I think he's a safe bet to at least get you in the double digits.
Not bad. Yeah, I think definitely when I was looking at the numbers for the Packers defense, as I was deciding on my starts and sits. I remember looking at the Packers run defense, and yeah, they're very middle of the road. So it's like, I definitely agree with you 100%, where it's like that bend, not break, where it's like they'll let up some big runs, but then all of a sudden they'll shut you down. So it's just like, you'll get a good mix of both. So it's like, if you have Tank Bigsby on your roster, yeah, I do agree with Tad. That's like, it's probably a good flex play, but yeah, unless you're really desperate. But all teams, like I said, are playing this week. So there's no bye weeks this week. So I don't think you need to be in a situation where it's like you need to put Tank Bigsby at your RB1 or RB2, unless, like I said, you made some trades and like that's your only running back left or something like that. But if you have the option, though, I would definitely agree that probably a flex play is probably the smartest move against the Packers defense for sure. Quick pop quiz for you, Tad. Can you guess Tank Bigsby's actual first name?
Oh, God.
I guarantee you will never.
This is dangerous.
That's how random this name is. It's like,
this is dangerous. Barkevius.
Yeah. It is a Vius. I will give you that, but it's Cartavius. Cartavius Bigsby, which I actually like better than Tank Bigsby. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
Seriously, that actually sounds a lot better. Well, Tank's is still a pretty cool nickname.
It is pretty cool, especially as a running back. That's one of those names that's like,
makes him sound like something out of Predator.
So, but Cartavius is a pretty cool name. God, I love this guy, Tab, but just unfortunately, I think just the Browns are sort of going to ease him into the roster. That's like, it's going to be a little bit of a while until we see prime Nick Chubb playing for the Cleveland Browns. And they also have a tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens this week. So I'm saying sit Nick Chubb. And Tad, we both brought it up already in our start sit episode. In our waiver wire episode earlier this week. That's like Nick Chubb scoring a touchdown. That was such a good feel-good moment after the injury they suffered last year. And unfortunately, it took him a couple tries. I remember we were texting about that. That's like, it took him a couple times to actually punch it into the end zone. And that sort of speaks to the fact that there's a lot of issues with this Cleveland Browns offensive line right now that sort of spoke to that. So it's like, I love Nick Chubb. I hope this guy can really just bounce back and be that prime Nick Chubb that a lot of people are sort of hoping for him to be. But yeah, against Cincinnati last week, Chubb only averaged 2 yards per carry. That is not numbers that you want right now. He had 11 attempts on the day, and he only rushed for 22 rushing yards.
I was going to say 12 attempts for 22 yards, but yeah.
Yeah, so pretty close. But yeah, it was 11 attempts there. And he is going, like I said, against a very tough matchup in the Baltimore Ravens, one of the league's best run defense. The Ravens are allowing only 68.4 yards per game on the ground, which is the best in the NFL. They've also yet to allow a single player to go over 50 rushing yards against them all season long. And the key word there is player, because they've played Jaden Daniels. He did not get over 50 yards against them. And they've also played Josh Allen, who has not rushed for over 50 yards against them as well. So they are stopping everybody. So like I reiterated, Nick Chubb, is great to see him on the field. I hope he can return to form. But yeah, at least for one more week, it's best that Nick Chubb stays on your bench. Because like I said, especially with the change at quarterback, they're going to go with Jameis Winston this week. You wonder how this offense is going to look. But I think just with that injury that he suffered, I think the Browns are going to be smart about it and be like, let's ease him in. Let's not give him a full workload just yet. Let's sort of sprinkle it. We may see another 11 attempts, maybe 12, somewhere like maybe I could see a max of like 15 carries, but we're not going to see anything like above 20. Not yet, at least. No. And then especially against the Ravens, I have a feeling they'll fall behind and they'll probably air it out more. So we'll see a lot of that, 30 touchdown, 30 interception Jameis Winston in this game, most likely.
No, this is a great sit because I have Nick Chubb in one of my leagues. Luckily, it's a pretty stacked team because I just drafted so well that I'm not in a desperate need to start him, but I can see a lot of teams. I'm on a 4-game win streak. Stop shaking your head. But I can see a lot of teams being like, being desperate.
Did you draft that well? You had to make a lot of adjustments to your roster. That's probably what it is.
I did not, actually. The only adjustment I made was picking up Baker Mayfield. That was a very key adjustment, though. Quarterback number 2, by the way. How about that? Surprising.
Yeah, he's having a good season.
But going back to Nick Chubb, if you're unlike me and you're like in desperation mode, like I need to start him, try your best not to. There are other options out there, Tank Bigsby being one of them, where it's concerning because, like you said, what was it, 11 carries?
Yeah, 11 carries last week.
I'm not exaggerating. I swear to God, if you didn't watch the game, I'm not exaggerating. 5 or 6 of those was on the goal line.
Yeah.
Because he had 4 or 3, and then there was a penalty, which gave them a 1st and goal. And so then he had like 2 more before he finally got in the end zone.
Yeah.
So clearly, like you said, they're easing him into it, which is the right plan, which is the smart plan. But fantasy-wise, it's of no value to you. So, like, he is completely touchdown or bust, and there are better bets for a touchdown than that because exactly like what you said, if you're touchdown or bust as a running back and you're going against the best run defense in the league, chances are you're not going to get that touchdown. So you're going to bust. He's still obviously very much worth holding on to. Be patient. Keep him on your bench. I'm going to have to exercise the same patience. I have TJ Hawkinson on my main leagues roster. He is looking like he's coming back next week. That's going to be tough because I don't think the Vikings are going to throw him in the deep end either.
Agreed.
But it's going to be one of those things come playoff time or come like it's, I got to win this game to stay in playoff contention. That's when these players are going to start paying off.
100% agree with that. So yeah, Nick Chubb, probably best if he's riding your bench at least this week. So give it a couple of weeks and then we may see him get more involved in that offense for sure. Tad, you're talking about TJ Hawkinson. Let's get to the pass catchers now. So let's start with wide receiver. Do you have a starter sit for me here in week 8?
This isn't it, but I just got to look it up real quick. Rome Odunze. Whoa! I was actually off. Rome Odunze in ESPN leagues, available in 42% of leagues.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, I feel like he's more widely available because he
I thought you thought it was
good
higher.
Week, and then a lot of people dropped him because then the return of Keenan Allen, I think, affected things as well. So
I like Rome Odunze, but for this week, I actually like another Bears receiver more, which is Moore. See what I did there? DJ Moore.
Okay. All right.
More with more. More with more. Great tagline right there.
Not bad.
Thank you. Anyway, as a DJ Moore manager in multiple leagues, let me tell you, people, I have felt that pain. It has been a very up and down season with him. As Amara pointed out earlier, he had 4 points in half PPR leagues last week against the Panthers.
Yeah.
That was very, very annoying.
No, it was against Jacksonville. Against the Panthers, he had a good game against Jacksonville. That's why. Sorry, against the Panthers, he had a good game. Against Jacksonille, he had a bad game.
I'm just getting my shitty cat teams mixed up. They're all just terrible. But like I spoke to before, it looks like this
Lions
like
are good.
Lions are good. That's fair.
We're talking about big cat teams. The Bengals are like kind of iffy.
Iffy.
Jaguars.
The Bengals are iffy. Panthers. Man, you need to work on your definition of iffy.
I think this week is a big test for them because they're playing Philadelphia and they're sort of trending in the right direction. But then Philadelphia is also coming off a big win against New York. So it's like, who's going to sort of that? I think this is a very critical game for Cincinnati for sure.
Every game is critical for them. They're like, 2-4? Anyway, back to the Chicago Bears. A good actual animal team. This offense finally looks like it's gelling together. I think that Keenan Allen was just the hot hand last week. Like, it's just that he was just the guy that happened to be open. There was also a near touchdown for DJ Moore, and that's what's been all season. I was just like, oh, you had him. You had him. Damn, just overthrew him. Like, that's what being a DJ Moore manager has been all season. But like I said, it looks like Caleb Williams is getting more comfortable, kind of understanding this offense more. So I think those kind of missed throws, they're going to go down. And then you look at the Commanders, there are only 3 teams the Commanders have not allowed, and this is where the Panthers come in, spoiler alert, a touchdown to a receiver. It's the Panthers, the Browns, and the Ravens. And I know what you're saying. It's like, ooh, they shut down the Ravens. That Ravens offense has been a little, like, when it comes to the passing game, pretty roller coastery, pretty up and down all season. So none of those really impress me. Other than that, they've allowed at least 1 touchdown, and in most cases, in 3 of their last 6 games, have allowed multiple touchdowns to receivers. So even if Keenan Allen keeps up this hot streak, I still think the chances of DJ Moore scoring pretty high. I think this is going to be a shootout of a game. Even if it is Marcus Mariota, I still think this is going to be a shootout of a game. And I like DJ Moore for at least 1 touchdown this week.
Yeah, I think after the bye week now, I think this is going to be really big to see where this sort of Bears offense is going to go. Yeah, like, is it going to continue that hot streak? We're going to see like whether it's going to be, they gave DJ Moore that extension. So it's like, are they going to rely more on DJ Moore now? Like you said, with Keenan Allen being back, it's like, is he going to be more the trusted piece in this offense? Is it going to be that rookie to rookie connection with Rome Odunze? Cole Kmet had a big game, I think, a couple weeks ago too. So it's like, who's going to be that guy, or is it going to be very much just like, who has the hot hand and Caleb Williams is just going to look to a different guy every single week? But then that'll benefit you, like I said, as a Caleb Williams manager, then where it's just like, he's just going to find the open guy. He's going to get all the points. You're sort of like, going to have to deal with it as far as if you're a manager of DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, or Cole Kmet. So that could be a situation too. But this could be a good sort of looking glass piece to see how the rest of the season will look for this Bears offense for sure.
So far, the life of a DJ Moore manager has been, there was one year when I was in high school where I had Lance Moore on my team, and this is very reminiscent of that, where it was like, yes, Lance, one week because he would go off for 18 points, and then the next week he have you like 2 points and responsible for your loss. You're like, fuck you, Lance, I'm dropping you.
I agree.
Like, don't do it.
I'm going to go with the sit. I'm going to go with the big prominent name the last couple of weeks. He's been actually doing pretty well. But yeah, there's been of a change at that offense that makes me want to sit him this week.
Marvin
and that
Harrison
is Deontay Johnson versus the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk about this. Yeah. Sorry.
So Andy Dalton is dealing with a thumb injury, so he will not start this week against the Denver Broncos. He was in a car accident with his family, but apparently he was fine, and he's just dealing, like I said, thankfully with just a thumb injury, so he should be good to go, I think, after this week. But yeah, for this week here in Week 8 against the Denver Broncos, they will be jumping back to Bryce Young, their former number 1 overall pick here. But this severely limits the production for Deontay Johnson, Tad, because in the 2 weeks where Bryce Young was the starter for the Carolina Panthers, these were Johnson's numbers. He had a combined, this was in 2 weeks as a starter, he had a combined 12 targets, 5 receptions, 34 receiving yards, and absolutely 0 touchdowns. But then,
that's not true. He had a rushing touchdown, to be fair to him.
Did he have a rushing touchdown those 2
weeks?
He
did. Remember? Because I lost the week 1 bet because I said Bryce Young over half a passing touchdown.
I'm not talking about Bryce Young. I'm talking about Deontay Johnson.
Oh.
Those are Deontay Johnson's numbers.
Yeah, no,
not Bryce Young.
I was looking up Panthers stats. So anyway, sorry.
That was
going.
Deontay Johnson with Bryce Young as the starter. Then when Andy Dalton was inserted in the starter, so this is all the rest of the games, Deontay Johnson is averaging 9.2 targets, 5 receptions a game, 64.6 receiving yards, and 0.6 touchdowns per game. So it's like clearly his numbers jumped up quite a bit with Andy Dalton as the starter. So, with Carolina taking on Denver this week, they have a very stingy pass defense as well. They're only allowing 13.5 fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. They have held the likes of DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, and George Pickens all to single-digit fantasy points in the matchups that they've had this week. So, yeah, you combine the aspect of Bryce Young being the starter and playing a tough pass defense in Denver. This Deontay Johnson is not a good play this week in your starting roster.
First off, very glad Andy Dalton and his family, because his family was in the car as well, are safe. So that was good.
I saw like car accident. Just like he only got escaped with a thumb injury. It's like, what's going on?
I know. I saw like Dalton in accident, and I was like, especially as like a TCU alum, I was like, no, like Andy. And then I read that like his family was in the car, and I was like, oh dear God, like this is just getting worse. And then they're like, they're all fine. It's like you can't put that at the top of the article. Exactly. Like I was so worried. So
but that's how they get you to click the article.
Yeah,
that's the clickbait.
You're a journalist. Oh yeah. That's kind of why I got out of journalism. The weird thing too is like he's week to week apparently. Like it's a very weird timetable because they didn't describe what if you guys are like us and was like, well, thumb injury, what does that mean? Do you break his thumb? Do you sprain his thumb? We don't know. They're not telling us, and they're just like, yeah, he's week to week. Give me 1,000 things. I don't know. Do you want to guess how many opposing quarterbacks the Broncos have allowed multiple passing touchdowns to?
I'm going to say 0.
Oh, God damn it. You ruin the game when you do that. You son of a bitch.
I looked up Denver's defense, and they have very impressive numbers against
They have not allowed a quarterback to score over 11 fantasy points since week 1. Geno Smith scored 17
that offense going.
Them.
Denver can be contenders, but just as the big if.
And that's the whole thing is like, I know your waiver wire pick earlier this week at tight end was Jatavion Sanders. Good pick at the time. Bad pick now. Yeah. Like this whole, as soon as I saw that news, like, oh, Bryce Young is back. Everybody got downgraded to like, you're either on the bench or like the only Panther I would consider starting is Chuba Hubbard. And even that carries a lot of risk.
That's a little risky too.
Because
if you look at Denver versus New Orleans last week, they shut down Alvin Kamara. Exactly. So it's like, I would not be surprised if they shut down Chuba Hubbard this week as well.
So, and then Jonathan Brooks is back. So you're not sure like how much his involvement is going to, come into play. So I don't know. There's a lot of risk. And until Bryce Young, and I will say this, I am really hoping that this is like Bryce Young's comeback, which sounds weird since it's only his second year, but I'm hoping he comes back. And I love Andy Dalton. Like I said, he's a former Frog. It was great to see him, win that game against the Raiders, but I almost hope that Bryce Young earns back his starting job with this opportunity. I really hope that happens because I don't think Bryce Young was given a fair chance at all to succeed in Carolina. Unfortunately, I have zero reason to believe he's going to do it. Zero reason. So, until he shows me, I'm not going to believe in him. Stay away from the Panthers. Hopefully you've been staying away from the Panthers.
Man, it's tough, Tad, because like I've been getting, with the, end of the college football season coming up pretty close, we're here in November. So it's like I'm seeing a lot more mock draft articles. Consistently, I'm seeing the Carolina Panthers taking a quarterback based on a lot of articles. I'm just like, that's just unfair. I think it's unfair.
I mean, it's unfair, but I agree with it. I think they're going to take.
You think so? Okay.
I think they're going to take a quarterback.
It's going to be an interesting conversation because, Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers had bad games in that respective game between Georgia and Texas. So, it's been very,
it's like I told you, I honestly think there's no good quarterback in this year's draft class.
Could end up being that way.
I'm not a big believer in Shadura either.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, we could see something where it's like these quarterbacks then get pushed up to the top because the premium position. We saw this before where it's like, likes of Christian Ponder, Blake Bortles, Jake Locker. They're all going in the first round. It's like, did they all
Blaine Gabbert?
Blaine
I was a Mizzou fan and I still was like, what the hell is he doing in the top 15?
No, I agree. So we'll see what happens once we get to the draft. We still got a handful of months before we even get to that. But it's really tough to see Bryce Young sort of going through all that right now because, he's sort of getting the, bad end of the deal here with all that sort of like, shuffling here. But let's see if he can sort of reclaim his sort of spot there in Carolina.
It would not shock me if Bryce Young has a Sam Darnold arc where he goes somewhere else and then he ends up being like really good.
And, honestly, we're sort of joking about it with Indianapolis and like whether they should go with Joe Flacco, whether they know get Anthony Richardson. Like maybe they go with Joe Flacco and they let Anthony Richardson just learn under him. So it's like maybe that's something they could.
I thought you were saying if Indianapolis got Bryce Young, but yes, no, I would 100% be in favor of benching Anthony Richardson. 100%.
What an antithesis going from 6'4" Anthony Richardson to Bryce Young, who's what 5'11", right, or barely 6
I don't care about height. I care about like the right color uniform to throw it to. At least Bryce Young just throws it on the ground.
All right, Taylor, let's get to the tight end position here. Do you have a starter sit for me here?
Oh, I got to sit for the rest of the season until further notice.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay. I'm putting him on notice. Sam Laporta, your ass is on the bench.
Yeah, this is a rough one for all you fantasy managers that invested a high draft pick in Sam Laporta because, he has been. Well, actually, before you get to your analysis, I want to ask you this question. So with the unfortunate suspension of Jameson Williams for 2 games, like, does this not affect your decision about Sam Laporta, at least for the short term?
No, and I'll tell you why. It's because even when Jameson Williams was having bad games or he's only seeing 2-3 targets a game, so was Sam Laporta. His target share did not go up in those games. If you correlate them between Jameson Williams' bad games, Sam Laporta didn't benefit at all from that. And I will tell you this, he's only had a maximum of 5 targets so far this season, and that's only in 2 of 6 games. Of those 5 targets, he's had a max of 3 catches. He's just not been doing well. He is not topped. He's at 1 week where he had 9 points, which kind of destroys the stat. But other than that 1 9-point performance, he's had less than 5 points. And then this is actually insane because do you know who the Lions are playing this week?
I don't actually.
They're playing the Titans.
The Titans. Okay.
This is crazy. I don't know how they're doing this. They have not allowed a single touchdown to a tight end all season. I got a crazy one for you. You ready? They've only allowed 1 tight end to go over 5 fantasy points all season.
Okay.
I know. That was my reaction. I was like, okay, your defense is terrible, yet you are somehow amazing against tight ends. Now, I'll give you bonus points. I don't know. Send you candy or something. I don't give a shit. Who's the one tight end that went over 5 points against the Titans?
God, that's a good one. I have no idea. Is it Dalton Kincaid?
It is not.
Okay, then yeah, I have no idea because I don't even know who the Titans have played all the season long. So it's like is it Jonnu Smith?
It is not Jonnu Smith.
Damn, I thought at that game against Miami,
it was right before they started involving Jonnu Smith.
Okay, then yeah, I had no idea.
It's your boy Jelani Woods.
Jelani Woods, he was the one who scored the touchdown. Nice, I like it.
Because technically he scored a rushing touchdown against them.
Oh, there you go. Even better.
So, yes. But bottom line being is the Titans are the second best fantasy defense against tight ends. And you have a tight end who's been massively underperforming all year. Yeah. Sam Laporta, like I said, your ass is on the bench until you prove otherwise. Get out of my starting roster.
Fair.
Because because you're right. Like I didn't, because I kind of saw this coming. I he was one of my I guess bust is the right word. He was one of my high-end busts going into the season because most of his production came from about 3 or 4 games last season. And if you look at the other games he had last season, it was mostly like this. And so that's where my worry was coming from. And it's been confirmed. Of like, he's just the way this offense works, which is not shocking. It has a lot of, I'm not saying it's McVay ties, but it has a lot of shades of Sean McVay offense. They don't emphasize the tight end all that much. So yes, now I'm not saying drop him yet. Give me another 2. You're shaking your head, but give me another 2 or 3 weeks.
I don't know. It's hard for me to drop a guy of his caliber because it's just like, yeah, I understand that he hasn't been performing all the season, but it's like you don't want to be in a situation where it's like, Mark Andrews is finally starting to score touchdowns as well. There's a lot of people that dropped him, and so it's just like I think it's just if you have the bench spot for him, I think just hang on to him. I think there's no reason why you need to drop him for some unless you really.
I was about to say at another position. I think it depends on the urgency. Like if you're like 1-4 or 1-5 at this point, 1-6, Jesus Christ, math. But anyway, my mortal enemy, mathematics. You didn't have to agree with that so fast. My God.
Well, the only other mortal enemy that you have, your little rogues gallery would be spelling, I think would be the next one.
A little peel biter over there.
It's like mathematics is your Joker and then spelling is like what? I don't know. Two-Face, maybe?
Yeah, and then Cap's my Scarecrow.
There you go. Really? I'd say Cap is more Killer Croc, I'd probably say.
Oh, that's a good one. That's good.
Cap, I'd say, is Killer Croc.
That's dead on. Yeah, no, he
sneaks up you from under behind, just like in Arkham Asylum. It's just like,
and you're just like,
Killer Croc. He's Killer Croc.
No, that's a good one. All right. We're going to do this. We're going to build Tad's Rogue Gallery.
There you go. It'll happen. It'll happen after this week.
But anyway, point being is like, I think if you're like, 2 and whatever, if you're on the edge of being last in your league, it might be time to start talking about dropping him. But if you're, whatever, 2nd, 3rd, 4th place in your league, and like Amir said, you have the space on your roster, don't drop him yet. But if he doesn't perform over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I think that's a conversation worth having.
No, I agree. I do agree with that. So yeah, I was very lucky in a league that I'm playing in. Sam Laporta fell all the way to the 6th round. So I took him there, obviously, because that's just great value, good right?
Yeah, no.
But later, it's like, it's one of the few positions that I draft a backup for. I don't really draft backup quarterbacks, but it's like I drafted a backup tight end. Tight end I drafted was Brock Bowers. And so I was like, based on the season that Brock Bowers is having, he is in my starting roster and Sam Laporta is on my bench. So yeah, if you
Brock Bowers is tight end 3 in ESPN leagues.
Yeah, and especially with the Devontae Adams trade, he's just going to get that many more targets.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But just the biggest thing that me and Tad are stressing here is just like, yeah, if you have the availability to keep Sam Laporta on your bench, that is where he needs to stay right now. Because, yeah, until we see that production increase, I already brought it up with the suspension of Jameson Williams for the next couple of weeks. It's like maybe we'll see an uptick in targets. So it's like this is a chance where you could possibly trust him. But it's like you still need to see it happen before you could be like, okay, this is a guy that I can rely on. Because, yeah, exactly like Tad laid out. He has not had a stellar week. And Tad, on that one touchdown that he scored, that came off a trick play, too. So it wasn't even like a standard play that he scored.
Was that the one against the Cowboys?
Yes, I
where
believe
where they like flipped it to him on the
That's
reverse.
when they were like just opening up the playbook and they're doing whatever the hell they wanted.
That was just the one where it's like, oh, we got these guys. All right, let's just play Madden.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, let's just do whatever we want against the Cowboys because that game was in hand very early in that game.
Love that game.
So we're talking about Sam Laporta
Colts hire Ben Johnson.
That's actually a good move. I would agree with that one. So we're talking about, Jameson Williams be suspended for 2 games, how that's going to affect Sam Laporta's fantasy stock. I have a tight end that I think he should definitely see a very high production value over the rest of the season. I think in this case, Cade Otton is played the Atlanta Falcons this week. I'm saying start him because it's unfortunate for the Buccaneers, but they're dealing with an injury to Mike Evans. He's probably going to be out until after the bye week. That is the latest report dealing with
not probably injury. Confirmed he is out until after the bye week.
So that is after week 11. And then Chris Godwin, unfortunately, on a hip drop tackle, which apparently is banned, but it seems like it's not being called properly. He is out for the season with a dislocated
out for the season. Injury. I didn't see that.
He is out for the season, so he had a dislocated ankle. He's going to require surgery. They have brought up that's like if the Buccaneers make a playoff run, there's potential that he could come back for it. Just like the Lions said that Aiden Hutchinson can come back if they play the Super Bowl. But it's just like at this point, it's like no, let's not even think about that. Let's actually get to that point.
That was my exact reaction when I saw like Aiden Hutchinson being like, I can play in the Super Bowl. I'm like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Your leg was literally wrapped around another leg. Like just stay home.
But yeah, for fantasy purposes, Chris Godwin is done for the year. But Otton, even with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, he was slowly becoming a bigger part of this offense. He is 3rd on the team in targets, 2nd on the team in receptions. And if you look at the past 3 weeks specifically, Tad, he's had 20 targets combined, 13 receptions, 159 receiving yards, and he's also scored a touchdown in those 3 weeks as well. Once in those 3 weeks, I guess I should specify there. But I think the bigger thing is just with those star receivers out for the foreseeable, handful of weeks or so, Otton will become a favorite target for Baker Mayfield because you look at that game against the Baltimore Ravens. Well, Mike Evans went out early in that game with his hamstring injury. Chris Godwin only got hurt in the final minutes of that game. But after Mike Evans got hurt, Otton was getting a lot of he had 10 targets in the game. So he led the Buccaneers in targets in that game. He saw a lot of his targets after Mike Evans went out. So now you definitely have to add to the fact that now with Chris Godwin being out too, I have a feeling Baker Mayfield will be looking, his primary option will be Cade Otton because you look at the receivers behind him. They have the rookie out of Washington, Jalen McMillan. They have Sterling Shepard, the cast-off from the New York Giants. So it's like, it's not sparking a lot of like, okay, these guys are going to be high producers in place of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. When you have a trusted guy all season long, Cade Otton's been in this offense. He's played with Baker Mayfield last year as well. I see Cade Otton being a very good tight end option for the rest of the year. So if he is available in your league, go pick this guy up because, I think he's going to become a focal point of this passing offense for the Bucs going forward. But 100% in this week against the Atlanta Falcons, he is a must start.
I 100% agree with everything you said. And it's evidence because I think if you go back, I want to say 2 weeks ago, it might have been 3 weeks ago, Cade Otton was my waiver wire pick for tight end.
Yeah,
I remember that. Not to toot my own horn, but screw it. I'm going to toot my own horn. I saw this coming. I was just like, his target, numbers were slowly going up. And I believe I actually said in that episode, Mike Evans can't stay healthy. Chris Godwin can't stay healthy. So Otton inevitably is exactly like, just give me a crystal ball already. Where's my crystal ball? Cap, get over here. Furry ball. It kind of works. He would not stand for that. Sorry, Killer Croc. Just go back to the sewers. Sorry, buddy. But point being is, no, I 100% agree. And here's the thing is that everything you said especially rings true if you're in a half PPR or even better, a full PPR league. Because, Otton's not doing the best, to make the most out of his catches. If you actually look at his yard per catch average, it's around I believe 3 or 4. Basically catches it and goes down. Yeah. But at the same time, he gets 6 or 7 of them. So especially if you're in a full PPR league, that's a lot of value to draw from a position that typically has the value where I'm like, if I get 8 points from that, I'm happy. And he's getting that just from the catches. So no, he has immense value in fantasy. I actually really, really like this start. Is he available in my league? Just you talk. I'm gonna check real quick.
I think the bigger thing too, Tad, just the way that the tight end position has sort of played out this entire year. It's like if you can have some sort of consistency at the position,
right?
I think this is sort of that sign where it's like, I think Otton is going to, like I said, become a consistent part of this offense, especially with the two major injuries that they're dealing with. So even once Mike Evans come back, because he will come back through this regular season, Otton, I think, will just then become the secondary option. So it'll be Mike Evans, then Cade Otton, instead of Cade Otton and then everybody else for the next handful of weeks here. So, like I said, I like consistency with Otton going forward.
I was just about to say, I don't even think you need to say is going to become a consistent option on this offense. He has already became that. Yeah, so it's just, so it's and again, this tight end, class, as with every year since we started doing this podcast, these fantasy tight ends suck. Like my league has had discussions of just eliminating the position altogether.
Wow.
Because yes, it's not a very popular position. It's also not mine. Before the commenters start coming after me, it's not mine. But no, there have been discussions of, do we just get rid of tight ends? And honestly, I kind of see the logic. I don't agree with it, but I see the logic in it. So yes, no, of a bunch of bad options, Cade Otton, not a terrible one.
All right, Chad, let's get to the kickers and defense here in week 8. What do you got for me? Starts and sits for both positions.
Sorry, buddy. I'm telling you, sit the 49ers defense against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, don't do it. They've only scored over 10 points, 10 fantasy points twice this season. I'm going to put you on the spot again. What were those 2 games where they scored over 10 fantasy points?
Over 10 fantasy points. I'm going to say once against the Rams.
Nope.
No, not against the Rams. Okay. I don't think it was against the Jets because they had a good game, but I don't think it was that game.
Nope. I'll touch on that.
Was it against Minnesota, actually?
Nope.
Okay, then I'm not sure about this one.
Well, one was easy. One was a little tricky.
Was it New England?
Yes, New England's the easy one. Yes, New England was the easy one. The second one was you scored 13 against the Arizona Cardinals.
There you go. Okay.
But here's the weird thing about the Niners, though, is after that, you haven't scored over 7 points all season.
Yeah.
And again, here's the weird thing, though, is you forced multiple turnovers in 3 games so far this season. Like, it's so weird that you guys are, like, the defense is actually playing fairly well. You are, getting a lot of sacks. You're forcing a lot of turnovers. But it's just not translating into the fantasy world. It's a very odd kind of dichotomy.
The big thing is that they're forcing sacks, they're forcing turnovers, but then the points allowed. That's the biggest thing. So they're allowing a lot of points, which then lowers the point total.
Well, especially that garbage time touchdown with the Jets probably fucked you. But a little bit. But God, Breon Allen is so good. But point being is, I'm not saying I think the 49ers defense is going to lay a dud. I just think they're going to keep doing what they've been doing for most of the season, which is get you 5 points, get you 6 points, get you, depending on your format, get you 7 points. And it's just like, okay, it's not terrible. You could do worse. But the whole reason I have them as my sit is you could also do a lot better.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, like, I would start, we talked about this, the Jets defense, even though the Jets defense currently ranked as the 23rd best fantasy, defense right now. I like them more than the 49ers, who are ranked as, I believe, like the 12th or 13th at this point. So again, I'm not saying the Niners defense is going to get gashed, because clearly I have Dak Prescott as a sit. So I just don't think either one of these teams is going to do a whole lot for you fantasy wise. But I think a lot of people are going to look at that 49ers. You still have that prestige, right? Of like, you see that SF and you're like, oh, instant start.
Yeah.
Go back on that thought process. Let them go back, think about dropping them. In terms of kicker, Dicker the kicker, baby.
He had a good game last week.
Yep. Now, and spoiler alert, actually, I dropped your sit pick at kicker for him.
Okay. Interesting.
So we're on the same, thought process here. So Dicker scored 12 points 2 weeks ago, 21 points last week, and the Chargers are playing the New Orleans Saints, who have allowed 4. This is insane to me. 4 kickers so far this season. Out of 6 weeks they played to go over 15 points.
Yeah, Saints are frauds.
Saints are absolute frauds. Absolute
Their
fraud.
definition of frauds for the 2024
and the
season.
best part is, like, you can just tell just from the eyeball test that, like, the Chargers or kind of what the Broncos have been the past couple of years of like the chef's kiss fantasy offense for kickers, where it's like you're good, you're just not quite good enough to get there.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's perfect. So actually, like, it wouldn't surprise me if I'll finish that phrasing for the community value. You're gonna like this. It wouldn't surprise me if I just rode Dicker for the rest of the season.
Oh Lord. Oh my gosh. See, and the interesting thing is, like, you wouldn't think that with the Justin Herbert-led offense, but I think just when you think about it, it's not Justin Herbert, it's more of the Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman offense, right? Where it's just like, they're doing enough, they're leaning on the run game, but just like, yeah, they're just falling short. Like, I mean, Tad, I don't know if you watched that game against Arizona, where it's like Justin Herbert threw this amazing pass to your boy Jalen Reagor, and then he got stripped of the ball right at the goal line, and then Cardinals cut the ball. So it's like, you can't control some of these things. It's like, he had his first 300-yard game of the season, Justin Herbert, against Arizona Cardinals, but just like, yeah, it's so weird what is happening with the Chargers offense right now, where it's just like, yeah, they have to settle for these field goals. And so, yeah, until further notice, it is way safer to trust their kicker in Cameron Dicker compared to anybody else on that offense right now.
Sometimes karma can be a real dicker.
All right, Ted, I'm going to get to my starts and sits here. We're actually talking about the Chargers defense. The Chargers defense is my start this week against the New Orleans Saints. So, I mean, say what you want about the Chargers offense, but this defense is legit good right now. Yeah. They have allowed the fewest total points in the NFL so far. They've also allowed the fourth fewest yards in the NFL as well. And they are ranked in top 10 in turnovers forced on defense as well. Spencer Rattler is still your starter for the New Orleans Saints. But the bigger thing is that while a lot of people have faith in Spencer Rattler, they're still without any logical receiver. Like, Chris Olave is on track. He hasn't been practicing this week, so it's looking like maybe he'll play, maybe he won't play, dealing with that concussion still. But even if he plays, it's like, I don't trust anybody else in that offense. Rashid Shaheed is out for the season. It's like Bub Means, Mason Tipton, I think, are some of their receivers there.
Bring back Michael Thomas.
So it's just like, yeah, it's tough to really trust anybody in this Saints offense. So yeah, they've scored a total of 10 points against the Denver defense last week, and they have a very good defense as well, a top 10 defense. So yeah, the Chargers, I think, could have repeat success, just like the Broncos did last week against the Saints. So start the Chargers defense. And at the kicker position, you talked about dropping this guy for Cameron Dicker. Yeah, I don't blame you, because this kicker has not been all that great this week. Jake Elliott versus the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm saying sit this guy, or yeah, it'd be safe to drop him as well, because the Bengals, say what you want, Tab, but the Bengals have been playing better football as of late. They started the season slow, but their defense has been good the past couple of weeks. They've held opposing teams to only 21 total points in both games combined, and I think they have a very good matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Elliott is averaging under 6 fantasy points per game this season. That's not numbers you want from the kicking position. He has scored double-digit points only once this season. That came all the way back in week 1 when they played the Green Bay Packers in Brazil. He's only attempted 8 field goals all season long, Ted. That does not give me hope as a fantasy kicker at all. So, yeah, I don't think it's safe to trust Jake Elliott as your fantasy kicker. I think you can go with other options. Cameron Dicker, Austin Seibert with Washington's a good pickup. You could get the guy for the Niners, the third kicker that they have, Anders Carlson. I think he's a good pickup as well. But just, yeah, Jake Elliott, you hear the name, you hear the team that he's on. It's like, oh, yeah, he'll get some lots of options. But, yeah, very similar to what Tad was talking about with the Niners defense. Seeing that SF, you'll see the PHI with the kicker here. This is the same thing. It's like, it's hard to trust him. He has not been performing this well. So do not start Jake Elliott. If anything, you're better off dropping him as well.
No, that's a classic, and for our YouTube audience of like why I was pointing so enthusiastically, that's a classic fantasy mistake to make with fantasy kickers. Of Philadelphia has a great offense. Now that they're fully healthy, it's looking like they're back. So it's like, of course the kicker would make, score you a lot of points. Not always, because it's compared to, are you getting the 3 points from the field goal because the offense couldn't go all the way, or you just keep on kicking the 1 point extra point because your offense just keeps scoring these touchdowns. I think it's the exact reason you said stay away from Jake Moody. at the start of the season of like, we're going to score too much, which at the time, to be fair, not a bad prediction.
At the time, it sounded good, but yeah, the way the offense has been playing, it sort of was looking. That's why you won your week 1 matchup, because of Jake Moody.
No, exactly. That's exactly my point, though. Like, you want a kicker that actually, kicks field goals, not extra points. And yeah, so you see the Philadelphia thing, and your mind just instantly goes, Philadelphia, Philly, good offense. Their kicker must score a lot of points. It's not necessarily always true. So no, and like I said, like it's just one of those things of even when their offense was bad, he still wasn't doing well, which is not a good sign for a kicker. So now I say, yes, stay away from Jake Elliott. Really, I caution, unless his name is Saquon Barkley, and this includes Jalen Hurts, I say caution against all Eagles until further notice. Not bench him.
I don't know. I still have faith in A.J. Brown. I think since he's come back and he's been healthy, he's scored twice now. So it's like he's the guy that Jalen Hurts trusts in his offense. So yeah, I trust him for sure. I
don't know if I trust him to stay healthy, though. That's my problem. Okay. If he's healthy, trust him. But I don't know if he's going to stay healthy.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, guys. So those are our starts and sits here in week 8. We break this up every single episode, but it's like we can't get to everything that you want us to discuss in a fantasy episode. So this is where it really helps to interact with us on our social media channels. You see the ticker coming right down below. You got us on Twitter. You got me at @TheSide23, Tad at TadTheSide94. Got the show handle at The Decide Guys, and of course on Instagram at The Decide Guys as well. So hit us up with all of your waiver wire decisions, your start sit decisions, if you need trade advice. We brought this up at the top of the episodes. Like, it gave to that midway point of the season. This is a good time to sort of reevaluate your roster, see where you can shore up some holes through a trade potentially. And so Tad is an expert trader. He could give you great advice. I could give you some great advice as well. So guys, don't be afraid to hit us up with all of that. If we get to something in our episode, we're glad we do, but we can't always get to everything. So this is where interacting with us on social media is the best way you can get personalized advice for your specific fantasy football league. Because guys, we want you to win some fantasy titles and bring home some fantasy championships, as many as we can help you guys secure this year. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And please make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network, because they're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers at the professional level, and the Bruins and the Trojans when it comes to the college football level. So lots of great content coming from a lot of great content producers about all 4 LA football teams. So guys, you're already supporting them, and you're supporting us by, listening to the podcast and watching the videos, interacting with us on social media. I mean, just anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast. We can't thank you enough.
I do have to put an asterisk on what you just said, because we have 2 very good friends of the show, Alro and Chauncey Talese. Yeah, I don't want you getting the title. Neither one of you. And to be fair, I don't want Murray in the title either.
The way things are going, Al is not in any shape to win the title. Chauncey, just like you, is creeping back up.
Don't tell
I
him.
am right now your leader of the clubhouse with only 1 loss of the season so far.
I'm playing him this week, and he still has Jameson Williams in his starting lineup.
I have a feeling he's going to set his roster just because he's playing you this week. I have a feeling that's exactly what's going to happen.
It's okay. But regardless of their fantasy football skills, both of them have fantastic podcasts you should check out as well. I'm already kind of talked about it with our parent network at LAFB Network, but within that, you have awesome podcasts you should check out. Specifically, the Salute to Troy podcast hosted by Al Rowe, who, despite not knowing how to set a fantasy lineup, does know his USC football. I know we did a little bit of draft talk. USC fans, I know at this point you're probably looking forward to the draft of just talking about USC prospects. He does a lot of that. He talks about what's going on. Should Lincoln Riley get fired? I am positive that's a conversation they've had. So be sure to check that out. They do multiple shows, including live shows during the weekend, by the way. There's a Sunday morning show that's kind of like my pre-kickoff show. I don't even watch like CBS or anything. I'm always like, let's see what Al's talking about. So if you're a USC fan, be sure to check that out. And LA Podfidential, hosted by Chauncey Talese. Great show. Absolutely love it. I'm actually hoping to go on in a bit because Chauncey, I know you're listening to this. I just watched Trap, the latest Shyamalan movie. It finally went on HBO Max. I actually thought it was really good. I was shocked at how much. And Josh Hartnett, my God, that guy's good. He has gone leagues since Pearl Harbor. But if you're like me, where you love talking about sports and kind of weaving in weird movie references like that, then LA Podfidential is the podcast for you. And we have plenty of other.
Chauncey would be your Riddler.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chauncey would be your Riddler.
Especially with all those damn games he plays. Yeah.
Yes.
He's really annoying. Like,
he's
in
just
Arkham,
a bastion
like
of like
in the
random
Arkham games
too.
when you're just like, God damn it, do I have to do this?
Yeah. And
it's
his
just like,
bastion of knowledge, he would be your Riddler. He would be your Riddler.
That's
100%.
a good one. Now, where are you?
That's the one that I've been thinking about. But let's close out the episode.
Are you just breaking my back? Anyway, we have plenty of good podcasts to offer up out there. So be sure, as Amir said, check out LAFB Network, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. What else?
Spotify, Google Podcasts. I mean, you name it, we're on there.
Thank you. So, thank you as always so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please stay safe, everyone.